I hope that in the future, people will use the power they have to get along with nature. Instead of indiscriminately changing nature, there's such enduring vitality in all living things. Newly maintained. Eating and being eaten has gone on over and over again. The fight between the hunter and the prey, it's part of the drive for perfection, evolution of species. When you reach the peak of power, not stumbling upon the competition for survival, whether we're still evolving or not. Personally, I think we'll continue to evolve. But the motivation for that evolution, it doesn't come from looking for food. It comes from the environment that we create. Human evolution is also evident in the Mark writing Chemistry on the Human Body. Human parts are more and more smaller and neater direction, with the help of science and technology, in the heavy work. While species, primates have the closest relatives to humans, they still have big and strong teeth to break hard objects. Human beings, it belongs to nature in many different ways. Even if there is more development or progress, we can be sure of one thing: evolution will never stop. In the final episode of this series, we will see the final test, that this planet is for our ancestors. It's the last step up the ladder of power that people have today. Thank you very much for your interest in following. On behalf of the Viet Quan team, hi and see you in the next video. I wish everyone a good day. Warm light shines through the thick forest canopy to create a dazzling scene. Beneath the tree's branches, the little lizard is falling asleep in the yellow sun. Its scales glowed, and his chest fluttered with slow breathing. All is well until something is rushing in. Something big that moves the trees around. The little lizards wake up, leap away before this hairy giant hand. He grabbed the tree he had just slept on. That arm belongs to a 3-meter-tall creature that weighs more than 300 kilos. It's called Gigantopithecus. That's twice as big, compared to an adult gorilla today. Gigantopithecus, I don't care about the presence of cows. Little Kia close-up, it's all about finding yourself a good meal. With enormous amounts of almost constant food demand, food is getting harder to find. In a world that changes every day, Gigantopithecus is struggling to survive. It's the same kind, has depleted food resources in the region, and have to move quickly, looking for something to satisfy hunger. Over a period of time, the density of the trees began to diminish. Make room for the open land in front of you. Giant animal, stop at the edge of the forest and observe the unfamiliar scene. There's nothing for it. With a golden roar, it's going back to trying to survive in the forest. It's getting smaller and smaller. You might think that this monster lived millions of years ago, but many studies have shown they existed until 200,000 years ago. Meanwhile, the hominin clade lived in China for over 1 million years. It means that our ancestors are used to breathe the same air and walk the same path as Gigantopithecus. And now they're extinct and we're not. But the extinction of Gigantopithecus, it's not that special at all. Long before that happened, the genealogy of monkeys, it's actually perished beyond belief. If looking back 1020.0005 ago, we'll see a very different world. In the middle Neolithic of the Near Neolithic, the apes reached a peak in numbers, area of distribution and species diversity. But in the modern world, the apes are just a shadow of themselves before. Most of the monkey family, they're all inexplicably extinct. What caused this disaster? Why our countless relatives? It dies in the oblivion of time. The first is the driving force behind the rise of the hominin lineage. Conquer the planet completely. The last episode of human history. Why are we not extinct? A day normal cold car 1709-8. The mysterious box has just arrived from your museum. According to the external sticker, it's traveled thousands of kilometers from the remote coast of Australia. All the scholars of the museum are paying close attention. They expected the package to contain a treasure, worthy of the famous museum, the best in the world. But the truth is completely different than expected. There is no treasure. What they saw was a strange creature. It doesn't seem to come from Earth. An organism that possesses the basic characteristics of mammals, with fine brown fur, and a beaver-like, flattened tail. But it has a beak and webbed legs like a duck. That creature is now known to us as platypus, a key link in the study of evolution. Platypuses are not like other herbivorous animals. It lays eggs from an ancient lineage. Existing row 10.00, when dinosaurs still ruled the earth. These days, ducks only live in freshwater Eastern rivers Australia and Tasmania. But 65,000.005 their ancestors, it's been recorded throughout South America. This in part shows that it's highly likely that they have many other relatives, used to be distributed over most of the Super 6 iguanas. But over time, there's only platypuses and 4 species of them. Other hedgehog fur are the last egg-laying mammals that survive. More surprising, if you look at the genus, the platypus is the only surviving representative. So the platypus example shows us what? The answer has to do with the number of species. Whether a species is ecologically successful, no matter where you go, one day they're also facing extinction. It suffers from a serious decline in diversity. Even worse is to disappear completely. This planet is home to millions of life forms. This includes more than 435,000 known plant species, 150,000 species and a comma of 2 million described animals. However, scientists 99.9% of life has ever existed. The Earth is extinct. Extinction occurs when a species, or a larger group of species that no longer exists. This effect comes from the birth rate of the species cannot be greater than or equal to the death rate over time. Based on the fossil record, we know these species, they usually don't fight with changes in the environment, or their evolution, slower than predators and competitors. But also from the fossil record, that we can find these organisms incredible in the past. Discovering a new species is the dream of every home. Paleontology, that sometimes the reality is even more amazing. 2,071 groups of researchers have found fossil remains of the species Anadolubius turcae, lived around the time of the Middle Ages. Fossil of the Anadolubius dynasty, a whole new genus of great apes, excavated at the Korasilla Paleontological Site in Anatolia, central Turkey. If you don't know, the genus is a group of related species. They have common characteristics, but the discovery of a new chi, they won't give you any special information about species in that genus. For example, when you discover the fossil of a tiger, you can't imagine anything about a lion, jaguars or leopards of peace. This discovery led to a 16-year investigation. By the end of 2023, now, scientists have published an amazing result. Large genus Anadolubius. It's a branch of the evolutionary tree that created chimpanzees, gorillas and humans. Outside of this species, we've got a lot of other species with it. But it can't be determined yet. Anadolubius turk exists at about 87 million. Years ago it acted as a representative of a branch of the great ape family, trying to create a new path to deal with the changing world. Perhaps our descendants have survived the migration, immigrate to Africa to give birth to later great apes, and finally become us. The period of time that Anadolubius said existed. It's also the time of the greatest upheaval, of the great primate family in general, and of the apes in particular. Over 23,000.005 the Middle Ages began as a period of great change. Average temperature recorded, it's 5 degrees warmer than it is now. Due to high temperature lead to melting ice, So sea level rise, that many areas of coastal cities, it's completely flooded today. The dense ocean extends across both the northern and southern hemispheres. Through a modern lens, we see the Middle East as a time of transition, to show that nature has decided that it's time to redecorate the landscape for the planet. Many ancient forms of life have ended, leaving tremendous opportunities for newer forms of life, more modern species of animals and plants. Into the tree, a new family of primates has appeared, separated from their monkey-like ancestors. Even though their lineage, it started in the early days of the Middle Ages with an organism called Proconsin. But it was in the middle of the era. They're actually completely separate. About 13,000.005 The Earth is home to many new species of monkeys, surprise, with much more flexible shoulders than the first monkeys. Moving through the branches of trees in Europe and Asia, scientists have estimated that there are more than 100 great apes that have lived through the Middle Ages, and most of their diversity originated in the middle of the era. But at SAL, this period saw mutations of monkeys in general, and apes in particular so. The answer is probably nothing too strange. If you've seen all the previous episodes of the series, this is simply climate. But here's the thing. We're making the influence of climate expressed through a more complex biological phenomenon. It's called evolutionary radiation. Evolutionary radiation, or evolutionary radiation, is the diversification of common ancestral species into several lineages to the new ecospatial environment. And we also have the concept of adaptive radiation, a kind of radiation that evolves to fill ecological niches. Adaptive radiation occurs when changes in the environment. It opens up new opportunities for life to adapt and evolve, as Darwin once hypothesized when he looked at the diversity of sparrows on Earth. Change in the environment to stimulate the diversification of species from a common ancestor to suit the new conditions. A period of forest cover, most of the Earth's surface, like the beginning and middle of the Middle Ages. It's extremely suitable for monkeys to grow and reproduce. But these forests are not the same thing. Each region has a different type of environment, so radiation evolution happens. As the warm period goes through, the climate starts to cool. Some kind of new habitat is also emerging, provide many new ecological niches for organisms to evolve. Fill it up. New types of environments pose their own challenges. To motivate the monkeys to develop a coping mind, we can talk about Dryopithecus and Pleiopithecus, adapted to live in them. Newly formed temperate forests in Western Europe. Some others, like Keniothesis, then evolved to thrive in mixed forests in Africa, the Middle East and northern areas of the Indian subcontinent. Meanwhile, Oreothesis lives in swampy forests in ancient Italy. We can think of this period as an ecological experiment. With the monkeys, Nest, our first venture into new territories, adapt to different lifestyles. Through the next generations, the development is getting better and better. For example, species that live in mixed will surely evolve to take on some new food and lose the pure living characteristics of tree life. 2. Monkeys that live in swampy forest environments also grow characteristics that help them exploit their rich aquatic resources. In the present time, we still see many species of monkeys use hard rock to break snails for food. Together, the explosion of monkeys, it comes from the diversity of the environment. It's not hard to understand when we call it a period. Rise of the monkey planet. But how many species of monkeys? That way we can exist together. That is, in the same environment. Different species of monkeys. How to do it? To maintain peace without having to compete for food. To answer this question, you have to understand a concept called the appropriate partition. Let's look at the screen together, where the African savanna is lush. Here we see many species of herbivores. They exist together. It's all relatively peaceful. There's no conflict in the search for food. Zebras graze on grass and hard leaves at medium altitude, while the antelope feeds on young shoots and softer leaves. At high altitudes, no species can reach. Giraffes with long necks monopolize this food source. The separation of diet and height looking for food. It's the most classic example of dividing different species to use resources in the same environment. In the context of the Middle Ages, the same story goes for apes. With the discovery of Aya Anadoluvius, the excavations in Turkey discovered a total of at least B are just different, and that leads us to an interesting conclusion. The monkeys with the boom. It's possible to live together in the same environment. Each species has its own characteristics. We found a way to grow without having to compete for food. Based on the changing environment, Anadoluvia may have spent more time moving underground, looking for low shrubs and tubers. But Gryftopithecus is completely different. The structure of their teeth and bones, it shows they have a life where the trees are low, eat different kinds of fruits and berries, or they also sometimes eat small vertebrates with insects. The other side, Ramapithecus, it also gives us a place in the ecosystem. When you're tall, you're looking for food that's superior to anything else. You can imagine them as modern orangutans. They make the most of their fruits and leaves. It can only be found on high. The species just mentioned, the Middle Ages in Turkey, it gives a perfect picture of adaptability and the diversity of monkey species. Each species is in its own world, demonstrate incredible resilience and flexibility according to the change of landscape. Like I said, it's not just a monkey planet. In terms of quantity, it's also a time of extraordinary evolutionary experimentation. When compared to the present time, we'll notice a huge difference right away. The climate used to be what allowed life to explode. It's changed again now. The forest disappeared in many places, and descendants of Anadoluvius, he also began to leave his homeland for Africa. They're simply chasing the forest, receding towards the equator. But in this world, it's not just existing species trying to survive. That even completely new species are about to emerge. You have to do the same. And it's amazing, new species that have shown superior adaptations of all. When you can live in an increasingly common grassland environment, their anatomy, especially their straight gait, allow them to overcome the challenges of the landscape. More open and diverse. It's about the emergence and disappearance of species in ancient times. That marked an amazing turning point in the story of evolution. In the years 130, Hong Kong is a bustling city, a port city full of shops, vibrant market every session. Afternoon, 1900 BA5, two men walk into antique pharmacy. Old small transmission. One of them is local. The rest are from the West. Foreign visitors can't help but admire when you see these dried herbs or wine soaked with animals inside the shop. But he's obviously looking for something. It's his local friend. Chat with a salesperson, and then the shopkeeper disappears into the counter. He came back a few seconds later, bring a tray with all kinds of small items. Comes in a variety of colors from pearly white to light yellow. The shopkeepers call them dragon teeth. But Ralph didn't hear that name very well, because he was attracted to the specimen, especially large in the declaration. If you don't know, so the dragon's teeth here use the address of the mammal's teeth, has fossilized. During his time in Asia, Ralph kept collecting 10 such items in the hope of furthering his research about the evolution process. A small pharmacy just helped him. I've discovered something very important. Jiang specimen. You look at them, it's a species that's never been discovered before. It's been described as a giant primate, larger than any species that has ever existed in history. That's Gigantopithecus, who appears at the beginning of the video. Our knowledge of the giant apes, this is limited only in some samples, as Ralph found it. But it's the samples that solve it. It's been helpful for paleontologists, estimated are an incredible size. It's twice the size of a giant gorilla today. Gigantopithecus highlights the diversity that used to be characteristic of the great apes or the middle-aged apes. Not only that, it also serves as a profound reminder that even the most powerful species, the largest, can also become extinct. But how does that extinction work? It's a slow decline, or the result of sudden catastrophic events. Can't predict. In the case of Gigantopithecus, the answer is a slow decline. And for the same reasons, species of apes of the Miocene, it also ended my journey about 5 to 10 million 5 years ago. To understand the extent of the loss in the monkey lineage, we've got to turn our attention back to the Middle Ages, especially in the Middle and Late Turbulent Era. Let's look at the fossils of these organisms. This little sea. Their shells are found in sedimentary cores, extracted from the bottom of the ocean, provide a detailed record of the temperature and the chemistry of that period. Studies show that the Middle Ages is characterized by a significantly elevated global temperature. It's a warm time to celebrate. It's called the optimal climate period, the Middle Ages, but it didn't last. Chemical composition from fossils to reveal information about the global cooling trend. Directly after the optimal climate period, the temperature has dropped by 510 degrees Celsius. Scientists still don't know the exact cause. What's causing this word transition? But it seems that changes in the Earth's magnetic field, the expansion of the polar ice caps, and changes in the ocean cycle has played an important role. We can be sure that at any time, Earth's temperature changes at such a large rate. Species are at risk of extinction. The time between the Middle Ages brought colder and drier conditions, caused rainfall to decline. It is also accompanied by a decrease in air humidity. Entire ecosystems based on forests in danger of disappearing. The planet is sending to the Mesozoic apes an ultimatum: adapt or die. Reconstruction of the ancient environment presence of animals like elephants, rhino, antelope. That means that during this time, landscape changed from jungle to grassland, savanne. The seasonal climate is also distinct. What kind of monkeys usually live on leaves and fresh fruit? They can't survive in such an environment, because the fruit will become scarce in the dry season. Some monkeys continue to cling to the forest, shrinking to survive. Drier landscape by year. But there are other species of apes as well, risk out of the woods, to explore the new environment that's waiting. One of the fairies, this wind has become a hominid. The first humans appeared 57 million years ago. They're not just survivors, after a changing world, but also the houses, revolution in adapting to our new environment. You might think that species, they're extinct because they don't change. However, for many species of monkeys, the transition to an open environment is impossible. In these meadows, are forced to adapt to drier habitats. It is no different than the species that have lived on trees for millions of years. The more species that have an advantage over trees, they're even more unfavorable on the ground. Erinopithecus and Gracechopithecus. Two species of European great extinct apes about 8 to 10 million 5 years ago, coincides with a time of severe environmental change. They're extinct. It's not just a consequence of changing the landscape. It also reflects they're not able to adapt quickly enough to the world. But after all, they are also extinct when environmental change is destroying God. Survival model. Extinct. It's happened over and over again throughout the history of life. It can still be observed at the present time. Since the intense competition between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals over 40,000 years ago, until the modern competition between the grey squirrel and the red squirrel, the principle remains unchanged. Species are better adapted to current conditions, superior to the opponent who always wins. That reminder is meant to be a survival warning. It doesn't have to depend on you being the strongest or the smartest. It's knowing how to change the most. Let's look at the Neanderthals again. The kind of people we used to think they're less intelligent than Homo sapiens, and that's probably why they went extinct. But after a lot of research, the likelihood of their extinction is due to other factors, like a slow reproduction rate, high energy demand, and less population. Homo sapiens with faster fertility lower energy demand, and larger populations are linked together, was able to overcome and take their own dominant position. Although climate change can be seen as the main cause, but it's also possible that they survived a small fraction, if not defeated by our Homo sapiens ancestors, in the evolutionary arms race. You can understand that that's the nature of exclusion. Competition, a phenomenon recorded, it's relatively clear in the natural world. Two species competing for the same resources, they can't coexist for a long time. They can share a temporary common environment, but eventually a species will inevitably disappear. The same principle applies in the forests, where the monkeys live. Competitive exclusion puts species in need of food, depends on fruit under tremendous pressure. War is inevitable, until the final winner is found. Gigantopithecus, he was one of the victims of the same war. But it's a war that's going on forever. About 200,000 years ago, our ancestors were success through millions of years of exclusion. The 4-7 failed due to over-specialization in food. Ancient environmental data and microanalyzers show they're particularly picky eaters, similar to pandas. Today, when turning, climate change is causing vast bamboo forests to shrink about the area, make their available food sources disappear. Even to early 2024, a study published in the Journal of about 295,000 years ago, many individuals of Gigantopithecus to go through chronic stress because I can't food. There's a lot of apes in the Middle Ages. It's also extinct for that reason. So there's only 7 great apes left. It's not that humans exist, but what that means is that they've succeeded. Just like us. Competition to survive is never easy. Before entering a life-or-death battle with Neditus, we've also been competing with our other relatives, a flow that extends through 5 million, 10 million, then 15 million 5 ago. We've seen many times their ancestors succeed, while other species are destroyed. It's hard to imagine exactly. It's how we survived. What do you think if I told you? We all carry a little bit of genes inside of us. Yes, it's hard to believe, but it's true. Some of them may carry many characteristics from ancient Kia humans. Others are less than that depending on where you're from. In a different way, you can also say that Homo sapiens are the last living species. And how we've survived through time. So many other species have gone extinct. It's always a big secret. As the mid-Miocene forests began to shrink, so many species of monkeys went extinct. It also creates a new opportunity for other evolutionary branches. That branch is the branch in the right tree of our system. The Middle Ages, late marked by the growth of hominids in the grasslands. Their evolutionary characteristics give them a distinct advantage compared to monkeys. The other center. The most important thing is to walk on 2 feet, about 6 to 7 million years ago. Species like Sahelanthropus the Chandaceus. It's very different from other apes of the time. They live in a wide range of environments from to the flooded forests to the open grasslands. Finding them in a wide range of habitats, it shows that even our earliest hominid ancestors, they can also adapt better than their contemporaries. Just because they can walk on 2 legs. This particular ability is still not very clear. It takes time to perfect. But in the future, it's definitely going to play a huge role in evolution. Most of them, including us, will walk completely on 2 feet, release 2 front limbs, and develop dexterity. This allows them to build complex tools. And then 2 million years ago, the world moves into the age of Homo habilis and Homo erectus. The movement of people moving farther, to feed more efficiently than any migration in the past. The resources, they are almost fully utilized for their existence and development of the future human race. While Gigantopithecus was knocked out because of their highly specialized diet, then Homo sapiens completely overcomes that. Innovative techniques to get the resources may be out of reach, such as hunting weapons, has helped us take down large prey. the different human species, expansion and distribution across newly formed environments without any difficulty. The story of the extinction of the Miocene apes, close. It's an important part of our evolutionary journey. Despite the dramatic decline in numbers, with the few species left, we still maintain the constant presence of our ancestors throughout the last 10,000.005. That's left over from gorillas to orangutans. There was also a miraculous journey of survival. It's similar to our ancestors. And I know it won't be long. The next round of purges happened, and we're faced with the next battle for survival to maintain the breed. So we've gone through 5 episodes about the history of human evolution, from surviving the great cataclysm of genocide to adapt through the geologic ages, and we've seen a dramatic decline in the number of species. As in today. You think that, is man a great achievement? That nature has created material. Do we really understand our origins or not? Thank you very much for your interest. Follow. We will meet again in the series. Discover more quality